Thank you for staying with us. The point-of-sale business may have empowered many Nigerians to sustain their households, but some others say the government should not encourage these persons to sell the country's currency. Inioluwa Popola went to the streets of Lagos to speak with residents and also POS operators on their dealings.
The above statement sounds familiar to a typical Nigerian on the street who carries out daily transactions. The debate on how convenient it is to get money either from the automated teller machines or point-of-sale business orders is one that the latter has won because of how fast and convenient it is. The ATMs were introduced in the late 1980s as a safe and easy way for many to make transactions. But the introduction of the point-of-sale system by agency banking may have reduced the number of people using ATMs. Going to the streets of Lagos, I asked residents which is more convenient for them, the ATMs or POS.
Let's tell ourselves the truth, the bank is making money from POS, okay, you get, and that is why they made it difficult for individuals to withdraw from the ATM machines. There is a bank close to my office. Before you can withdraw, you can't even withdraw up to 50,000 naira. I think the least you can get is 30,000 naira. Despite the charges, people will still run back to the POS because bank will not give you that amount of money. And most time the distance from your house to the bank, when you check it, you'll be like, let me use the nearest POS because they're everywhere.
And even now, some people go to the bank, spend hours on the queue before they get attended to. I don't know why, but I prefer POS any day, anytime.
If my value of money is 20,000 naira, it means I'm paying 400 naira extra. I'll be charged 400 naira extra to get 20,000. It doesn't make sense to me. I prefer ATM. I prefer using ATM because of that. So
if your money hangs in the bank or in the ATM, they will not answer you. But when your money hangs on the PS, they will type it and send the request back. And before you know it, less than 24 hours, you will get your money back. I prefer to use PS. I just even got some cash, and I got it from the PS.
As I go around various banking ATMs, some are not working at all, with one even dusty. I stumbled across Elizabeth, who is a fruit seller. She says she prefers to go the olden way style and keep her money at home.
I don't bank my money in the bank because as I'm here now, I'm here this morning. Said that I wanted to use my money to go market unless I go to bank before I collect. I don't have that chance. That's why I don't normally put my money in the bank. Let's say somebody can you go to ATM when you're there in hurry? You there on panicky. So how will I do this thing? So you have to go to where you keep your money, you bring it out. It happened to so many of them because before they go to ATM, before they go to where are they calling it? Something happened.
I also approached a POS business owner. Although he agrees that some bank operatives may use this opportunity to get profit, this isn't the case for him.
People saying banks, people do give people a POS people money and collect percentage from them, or perhaps they know people who have relationship in the banks, they partner with them to collect money and stuff like that. But me, for instance, I don't have anybody I know in the banks who will do that one for me, so I'm not into that one. For instance, if I go to the bank, if it's 20,000, the bank will give me, fine, I'll collect the 20,000 and then I will leave. I'll probably go to another bank again to see if I will still get another extra money. So by the time I go to like 2 or 3 banks, maybe I'll be able to gather like 60,000 or 50,000. So after gathering like 50,000, I'll now have to go around to see where to get the remaining one. Which sometimes I do go to my friends who are into lotto business. Lotto business, you know, they used to have money with them. So sometimes they will charge you. They may say, we'll give you 20,000, but you give us percentage.
One thing peculiar for many people is comfortability. And if getting money from the POS is the way to go, then so be it. But there is still the question of whether they should be charged for their currency. But the POS operators say the banks do not give them so much, and so they have to resort to other sources, who also charge them for the money collected. With the economic challenges already on ground, it will make life easier for many Nigerians to access their money easily, and for persons like Elizabeth to put back their trust in the financial system. Inyudua Popola, TVC News, Lagos.
Well, joining us via Zoom is the Managing Director, Carry Asset Management Limited, Johnson Chukwu, to speak on this matter. Johnson, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Now, the POS operators have become an essential part of doing business in our economy, in the country as it is. But with the CBN asking them to register with the Corporate Affairs Commission as it is, this is raising concerns among some economists and some persons within the circle who say that this is a way of legitimizing the trade of the naira. What say you to this?
Very good. First of all, let me say happy Eid to our fellow Nigerians, that Barka Salah. What I would say is that what the central bank is trying to do is to kind of formalize that payment platform. What has evolved over time is that the POS operators have become part of the payment system in the country. Just like you previously go to your bank to make withdrawals, you go to ATM to make withdrawals, the POS has evolved as a means of as a convenience, or to add to the convenience of a payment system. So the central bank asking them to register, it simply means that they want to kind of formalize it so that we have track record of who is doing what kind of transaction they are doing, and then they'll be able to measure and monitor the velocity of circulation of money currency in the economy. They will be able to determine the volume of currency that's outside the banking system, and therefore that will help in planning monetary policies or in defining and designing monetary policies. So that's in order. But the key thing we must realize that when you use the word legitimize, it's not as if the POS are doing anything that's illegal. Like I said, they are part of the payment system in the country today. They have evolved to become part of the payment system. Just like any other payment system you have. You need cash, you go to them, they have some level of cash position, and then you give them your ATM card, and you pay to them, and then they give you cash. Because they are serving as a means of reducing the inconvenience of going to the banking hall or going to an ATM machine that is not working or that does not have cash to dispense.
And while we're trying to legitimize, so to speak, like you mentioned, are we not going to end up, encouraging the sales of the naira? According to the report, if you follow that report, POS operators also mentioned the fact that if they do not get cash in the bank, they also have to go to other sources.
Okay, let me put it this way. Like I said, it's not legitimizing, rather formalizing, because legitimizing will imply that they were doing something illegal. I also think the POS terminals or the POS operators are part of a transition from a cash-based economy to a cashless system. And let me explain this further. What that means is that they may not continue to operate indefinitely. The system will eventually overwhelm them, or the advancement in technology and the level of financial coverage, financial system coverage will also eventually take them out of the system. And I explain this. Why do people go to POS operators to withdraw cash? Because they want to fake transactions. Most withdrawals at the POS are transaction-oriented. They are for transaction purposes. Principally, if you want to pay somebody and the person does not have a POS terminal, him or herself, the trader or what they call the merchant, doesn't have a merchant POS. So you go to a POS and withdraw money and pay this person you are buying something from. If, as we see technology improving, most merchants begin to have a merchant POS or become a merchant operator for the POS business. So their bank will give them a merchant a POS. You don't need to go to a retail POS operator. All you just need is you want to buy fuel from you. Where is your POS? You slot in your card and then you make your payment. Or we advance to the level where virtually everybody will have a token. So you use your phone. Okay, I bought 10,000 naira worth of goods from you, and then where's your account number? And you give me the account number, and I just transfer to you. So at that point, we're going to get to a point where we'll bypass the POS operator. So for me, it's a transitionary phase of our evolution from a cash-based economy to a technology-driven payment system.
All right, Mr. Johnson, let's quickly go on a break. When we return, we'll continue this conversation with you. Just stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We're still talking about government's move to formalize the operation of POS operators after asking them to register with the Corporate Affairs Commission so that they can be monitored appropriately. And we still have speaking with us Johnson Chukwu, the CEO, Carry Asset Management. Now, Mr. Johnson, the matter of bridging the gap of when we're talking about matters of financial inclusion was one of the major reasons in 2013 when the CBN gave assent to the use of POS operations in the country. But right now it's more of transactions as against, capturing the unbanked that a majority of persons we are hoping will be brought into the system as it is. What perhaps for you or from your perspective is the missing link? Why we are still having this matter of just having it for transactions as against bridging the gap for financial inclusion and also bringing the unbanked into the system?
Yes, like I said, one of the things I think that is motivating the central bank to request them to register with the Corporate Affairs Commission is to formalize their operation. And I think the ultimate objective, if they have to survive, is to begin to act as agent banks, to provide some agency banking in areas that are underserved, particularly in rural areas where they can operate in island mode, effect transactions and upload when they have network. So without that, they will be phased out. But I think, like you rightly pointed out, the primary objective was to enhance financial inclusion, to ensure that places where the bank's operation cannot be profitably established will be or still be served with banking services. And that's where the POS evolved, POS operators evolved. So I believe the POS operators will have to transform from just dispensing cash to act as agent banks. So the way they have on board people who had become their customers, on board bank customers on behalf of banks, serve as a primary agent for providing financial services or banking services to those in rural areas and areas that are regarded as underserved locations. So it's not just paying cash to them, they will also serve as a deposit receiving agents. So people can save through them, earn interest on their deposits, and possibly borrow, well as the ultimate lender or the deposit entity is a bank behind them. I believe that may be where we are going to. If the central bank pursues this approach to have them registered, the next thing is help them enhance their capacity and skills and help them put structures in place to act as agent banks.
And to add to what you mentioned, some of these POS operators are actually sub-agents. If you have seen them, some of them have the names of the banks. They are registered under some banks. You see them on their POS machines. But back to your statement about the fact that it is just a phase, it's just a transition. How close are we to a cashless economy? We've seen the rise of fintechs that a number of persons have a level of confidence in than the traditional banks.
I think the next couple of years we should get to that point. All we need is a stronger technological backbone, a telecommunication backbone, and ensuring that you have technology coverage or basically telecommunication coverage across the country. We already have a 5G network in some locations in most urban areas. We need to expand that to all the rural areas. And once you have that, then you begin the process of eliminating the POS operator as they are today. If they expand their operation to become agent banks, then they will have other services, value-added services that make them indispensable in the banking system, in the banking ecosystem. But if they remain just receiving cash, dispensing cash to people who are short of cash, who want to make payments for transactions, then once you begin to get to a point where people can effect online payments and the failure rate is minimal, almost zero, where you get to the point of zero failure point. Of course, you can never achieve zero, but minimal failure instances where you make a payment to somebody or you slot in your ATM machine and then, slotting your card, your ATM card into a POS machine and payment is effected without any failure. Then you may not have a need to go to a POS to withdraw cash first and go to a merchant and make payment. I remember when the ATM machines came in vogue in the past, and then you began to have major shopping malls. People would go to a shopping mall and go to an ATM machine in the shopping mall, withdraw cash, enter to one of the shops and pay the cash, not recognizing that they could have used their card and go to the POS of the merchants they are buying things from and make payments. It was later, and I was one of those that said, look, this phase of withdrawing in a shopping mall to go to a shop within the shopping mall to pay cash will eventually be phased out when the shops are confident that the POS terminals will act and will function without failure. And that's what happened. And I think that's what will happen when the merchant traders, every trader, you can see the woman in Oshodi, in Idimu, who has a POS machine, and then you want to buy vegetable from her. And she said, okay, the vegetable is 500 naira. Okay, let me have your card. Put in your PIN. And then she can confirm that at that point that payment has been effected and she releases the vegetable to you. Once we get to that point, which will be driven by technology, and technology I'm referring to is telecommunication technology, then the era of POS as they currently operate will end.
Right, and that's where my next question lies, the matter of data protection as well as security. There's been concerns about how some of these POS operators have been used to carry out fraudulent activities, as well as so many issues that have been raised in recent times. And we recall the CBN clamping down on some of them because of these fraudulent activities. Now, that's the concern some other persons have with regards to their activities in the system. If the CBN is going to be able to check these people, what then should they be doing?
I think that process is already ongoing. And one of the things that the POS no longer do is to say, look, you come to a POS operator and ask for his or her account number, and it gives you now transfer a huge amount of money to the POS operator and come to him or her and say, look, I want to withdraw. Because they realize that people, criminals, particularly those in kidnapping criminal activities, we are using them as conduits for withdrawal of ransom that they extracted from their victims. So many of them have stopped that because ultimately they were the ones that were arrested and they couldn't have a trace to those people who they made payment to. So advancement in knowledge, advancement in security system, and additional checks and balances built at the back end of the applications or the service they provide will ultimately reduce those instances. I had mentioned earlier that the POS have to migrate or advance or pivot to a level where they become agent banks. If they become agent bank, they are going to onboard their customers. So you can't just walk in without having been registered. And because many are operating highly restricted locations or highly localized areas, they virtually know all their customers by name, where they live. So if you are not onboarded, they are not going to dispense service to you or provide service to you. And that way, the era of using the POS as conduits for criminal activities will be highly reduced.
Mm. Also, let's talk about the rise in the sale of the currency. That's another angle that should be addressed. Like I mentioned earlier, these POS operators mentioned that even member of staff in banks are also complicit in this. And if they do not have access to cash in the banks, they also have other sources getting it outside. How should we address this?
I think it has to do with right from the central bank through the management of the banks. And I'll tell you why. The era of sale of currency became exacerbated when the then central bank governor introduced the limitations to people withdrawing cash. And, one of the things you have to recognize in the economic variable or economic situation is that when you do make legitimate transactions or legitimate engagement difficult, you compel the product or service or business people to move to an illegitimate channel to still execute what ordinarily should be legitimate business. And that's basically what happened, and that led to the sale of cash. It has always been there. People have always sold cash, mint, new notes for value. But the key thing you have to recognize is that when you get to a point where you no longer have a compelling need to use cash, then the sale of cash becomes unnecessary. Like I said, if I get to a point where I don't need to carry cash, I can tell you, Veronica and Wilua, that I can spend 2 weeks without spending one kobo. Because the reality is that if I want to go to a restaurant, I go with my POS, my ATM card. Whatever I do, most of the times I do with my ATM card. So you're going to get to that point where there is no compelling need for you to hold cash. The cash purpose is for transaction purposes. It's not anybody who is holding cash, physical cash, for transaction purposes. If I can effect my transaction without cash, I don't need to hold cash. But in terms of what can be done to minimize the current trend, I think the central bank has to make available sufficient cash as based on the cash needs of the economy today. And then the banks must make sure that the cash that is available to them by the central bank are either dispensed at their counters to those who really need cash, or are stocked and that their ATM machines are well loaded. I mean, the ATM machines are fully loaded at any time so that people can just go and withdraw cash. I don't think anybody needs today 100,000 naira to make payment. Most people you want to pay 100,000 naira will have a POS or give you an account to make payment. So they are basically small ticket transactions that require cash. So if people can't get those small ticket transactions, they go to ATM. How much? And if they go to POS, and the POS you have no choice than to go to the banks to say, look, I need cash. And if they can't get the cash through the right channel, they may be incentivized to pay. In fact, I would say that they will be blackmailed to pay for cash they should already have.
Well, some persons will tell you that the ghost of December 2022, where we had that matter of the cashless policy, withdrawal of cash as it is, becoming difficult, and some persons had to die in the process, that the ghost of that era is still very much around with us, as some persons still do not believe that they can access their monies whenever they want them, so still keep huge amounts of monies in their homes, or get huge amounts of money so that they can, spend as whenever they want it. But then the question is, do you think that we would ever be able to have a system where people do not require cash? Would we ever get to that point where we say we are running a cashless policy in totality?
No country has ever gotten that. No country has gotten to the point where there is no need whatsoever for cash. Well, what would be driving is the use of cash is reduced to the barest minimum. Even if you go to England or US, you will still have cash transactions, but they are minimal. And the key thing is that we should advance to a level where large ticket transactions are not executed with cash. Already, our law is very stringent with the use of cash for certain transactions. The law makes it illegal for you to pay for land with cash, to pay for stock with cash. A couple of things that the law makes it illegal, illegitimate, if you execute them with cash payment. But the key thing is that the volume of transactions that require cash ordinarily should be low-ticket transactions. I want to buy a car for 500 naira, and it's not convenient for me to pay you with ATM card. Then I should be able to do that. I want to pay for a cab. In fact, today, if you use any of the vehicle hailing taxi systems or platforms, you don't even need to pay cash. In an advanced country, they won't accept cash from you. In Nigeria, maybe they still accept accept cash, but ordinarily they should expect to debit your account. So if we get to that point where our payment platforms work efficiently, and then the failure rates are reduced to the barest minimum, the compelling need to use cash will be reduced, but no economy has gone to a point where that's considered as
But
zero
don't you think that the incident of December 2022 perhaps might have derailed the whole process to an extent, and that there will be the need to restore confidence in the minds of a majority of Nigerians?
Yes, it was a setback. There's no doubt about that. It was a major setback. Some of us cried ourselves hawks that this policy will destroy the cashless policy we have been driving for almost 15, 20 years. And that's what it did. It was a major setback. But I also think the government needs to reverse some of the policies they have instituted, one of which that they removed penalties on huge cash withdrawals and huge cash deposits. I don't see a compelling need for that unless there was a window to admit cash that we are illegitimately stacked away into the banking system. If that window is even there was created, then by now it should have been shut, so that people are not incentivized to continue to keep cash. The era of huge cash deposits at homes came with a lot of criminal activities. You could stay at home and you have armed robbers come to your house and say, where is the cash? But now, because they know they can hardly have cash at home, or people don't have cash at home, that era has largely reduced. And at the macroeconomic level, if you allow a system that makes people to keep a lot of cash at home, it makes it difficult for you to have an effective monetary policy in your system. So the government, the central bank, has to come back and reimpose the penalties associated with huge cash lodgement and huge cash withdrawals, so that we can begin to claw back on the setback that we had, or dial back to where we were before the setback was instituted.
All right, and that's a fine place to leave the conversation. Johnson Chukwu, CEO, Carry Asset Management, thank you so much for your time on the program.
Thank you for having me, and Baraka Desal.
The same to you.